Our next item on the agenda is we have two speakers from the Florida High School Athletic Association that will go over compliance, eligibility issues. And they're here to answer your questions on those issues, and then kind of discuss anything that's new or changed in any of the sports that we have in our high schools. So first up is going to be Mr. Craig Heyman, and then Mr. Justin Harrison.
Good morning. I want to thank Mr. Humphrey and Okaloosa County for inviting us out. This is my second year attending this event. Look forward to coming up the day ahead before, because Mr. Humphrey already said us to McGuire's and we get the prime rib, so I've been waiting on this day for a year just so I can get that prime rib dinner. Throughout my presentation today, if there's some questions, please raise your hand, ask questions. I do work in the compliance department. There's lots of changes that took place this year. There's a few changes for next year. We're still figuring things out like you guys are figuring things out. So ask questions. If I can't answer you today, I will get back with you, because some of the things we're learning, some of the things we have not went through yet before. Perfect example is with the recruiting now, where the penalties go directly impacting the coach. And the coach get 3 strikes before they possibly lose their teacher certificate. One of the questions just came up this week was a coach, we've had several, that have gotten caught this year. What is the due process for a coach that has his first strike that wants to challenge it in the school environment? But among our due process system is in place for member schools. So if you're not employed at a school, you're not part of our membership. So we're working on things like that right now to offer that due process for coaches that may be caught in their first offense and trying to find a way to move forward with that. Justin's here with us. Has our contact information. It's online. It'll get in the slideshow. You can pick that up. Saw this. I always like to bring something to talks when I speak. Just something that I see and help motivate you. A lot of times we always worry about who's the strongest or who's the most intelligent. But if we think about what gets us through life and helps us persevere, it's the ability to adapt, the ability to change. We live in a changing world. What we used to do as a coach, I was a coach 5 years ago. Things that I was able to do 5 years ago, those things aren't in place anymore because of rule changes and other things. So in order to stay successful and stay current, and you have to change, be willing to change. And those who change are the ones that continue to persevere and do well. Those ones that don't want to change end up being forced out or time passing by. This year, with the impact of House Bill 7029, the transfer and being immediately eligible, we've all sort of went through that this first year, and there's been hiccups here and there and sort of worked our way through it. The 6th day, one of those still there. If a kid transfers to school, they're eligible on the 6th day, and that's just to verify academics, birth certificates, all those other things that kids are eligible in all those other ways. If they participated in the sport at the previous school, they'd be one of those 4 exceptions. First 3 are pretty standard. It's that 4th one that we've had the biggest challenge with this year, because our office doesn't decide what's good cause. It's up to the school district. And this year, many school districts, as much as we spoke about this last year in the spring, that, hey, you come up with a good cause policy. You come up with a good cause policy. I send emails to superintendents, school board assignment officers, and probably 30% of our schools, we didn't do what they're supposed to do, or school districts. The other 70% had nothing in place. So when a kid, for example, tried out for volleyball, transferred to a different school, and wanted to continue playing volleyball at the new school, and didn't meet one of the first 3 exceptions, and they got to that 4th exception, our office is not the one that's telling the kid no, or the parent no. It's on the school district. And school districts were supposed to tell those kids no. I'm quite sure, when it got down to it, and maybe not wanting to deal with parents, a lot of those kids were rocking the club. So please be familiar with that good cause policy for your school district. They're the ones that's supposed to communicate with the athletic director and say, look at the situation and say whether that situation is warranted or meets what's in good cause for the school. This upcoming year, 2017-18, control open enrollment. You listen to parents that call our office, they think that it's just fair game, open market. Craig Heyman High School is going to be the next football powerhouse in the state of Florida, because all the kids can I can now send my kid there no matter where I live in the state of Florida. That is true, but the city has to be available. And the thing that I have found out just talking to school districts, generally the schools in a county or in a district that are the most successful academically and athletically are already over capacity. There are no seats available. It's usually the ones that are underperforming academically or athletically that have seats available, and those kids don't want to go to that school anyway. So quite sure there's going to be some folks that come and talk to you, possibly trying to enroll in a school or going through the district. And the district already is set in the district office. It's not up to the principal to decide whether there's a seat available. It's set by that student assignment office at the district level. And those capacity levels are supposed to be posted on the website for not only our office to look at, but for the Department of Education to see. And if it says that, for example, Craig Damon High School is full, there should not be any kids going to Craig Damon High School after that point that do not live in or not zoned for that school. Okay? So that's something that it's going to shock some folks a little bit, and it's going to restrict some schools. I mean, in the past, we've had kids that could transfer, could do out-of-zone waiver, and the county could approve it, even though the school was at capacity. But once those capacity levels are set, by state's law, the school district is obligated to follow those procedures. There are exceptions there for preferential treatment, and that falls into place of active military duty folks. With the base here, military base here, and you guys there, I'm quite sure y'all get lots of folks that get military order changes, and now they live in a district where those kids will be supposed to be bumped on the preferential list. Students that are displaced or moved because of foster care into a district, they'll get some preferential treatment as far as their assignment is concerned. And lastly, if it's a court order changing custody, not just, I want to let my kids go live with the grandparents, I want to let my kids go live with mine. It has to be ordered by the court, which means that someone is severely ill, or there's death, or divorce, or separation, something that was ordered by the court that caused that kid to change residence, or change who's responsible for them, that would get preferential treatment. It's not, I hear it all the time. Like, as a coach, I've had kids that went to live with their grandparents because the parents maybe wasn't at home because of their job. But that's not court order. That's just a choice amongst the family. So that would not be one of those qualifying moves that would be considered for preferential treatment for moving, or to be able to continue playing even though I participated in sport at the school. Any questions about open enrollment? Again, that's something new, and we're sort of feeling our way through it just like you guys will be too also. I will share, me and Mr. Humphrey had a conversation yesterday about this, non-traditional kids. What happens to non-traditional kids? Home education kids, kids that attend a non-member private school, or kids that are at a charter school that don't offer that support. What happens to those kids? Those kids got to go through the same process, just like they're going to attend the school. So they got to go through the control open enrollment provisions, which is listed in the state statute, even though they're not going to attend the school. And they get counted, the seat has to be available. Because at some point in time, that parent could say, oh, I want my kid to attend that school. If there's no seat available, that kid's just there participating, it can cause an answer. So our interpretation of state statute and what we've gotten analysis on is that any non-traditional kid would follow that same control of enrollment process, just like other kids.
So if you're homeschooled, you still got to have a seat in school?
So that's the seat available in school. To keep it consistent is what we've been told from analysis.
Makes sense.
Sort of felt the same way too, but yes, we're very unfortunate we've been told to. No doubt. Any other questions about control open enrollment? Some proposed policy changes. And these are things that, if you look on the website, it should be listed now. Policy changes that the board will vote on in April, just coming up April. One of them is policy 20. This year, I think on 3 occasions, I've had parents send in allegations on the school where baseball is required in the summer. The baseball coach told the kid that he had to be to workouts during the summer in order to make the baseball team. If he didn't attend workouts during the summer and play summer ball with the team, he would not make the baseball team in the spring. And parents said that in, coach put it in writing. So they sent me a copy of the writing, I forwarded it to the school. And, so we are looking for power proposals put in there, even though we don't monitor summer, and summer should be voluntarily, on a voluntary basis. It should be something that's obligated. Because I look at it, if you make it mandatory, whether the kid's gonna get cut in the spring or fall, and you're basically telling me you're practicing outside of the season. But if it's mandatory, usually when it's mandatory, it has to be during the season. So are you saying you're practicing outside of the season, or are you having preconceived who's gonna make your team type deal? So as it says that kid that doesn't come to workouts during the summer, because I'm an old football coach, and we still kids that make 20 workouts during the summer, but I got control of who goes on the field and play. So if you're not there all summer long, I keep that in the back of my mind, and sure you're part of the team. But those kids that have made the commitment and busted butt, those are kids that's gonna come to the field because they're gonna be better because they're better prepared to get on the field and play. It's just that part where you tell a kid but they can't make the team because they're not there during the summer. That's come up on several occasions. So there's a proposal, it's not in place yet, to include a sentence that says it shall be voluntary, not mandatory, during the summer. 21.2, this is something that we've gotten, I guess once this policy is posted online, we've gotten several phone calls concerning camps for during the summer. It's about football, pads and helmets and shoulder pads. I'm a football coach, I did not do that during the summer, but if you look at policy, people are saying, well, why you guys change the policy? I go to FCA camp every summer. We've been doing this for 20 years. This policy didn't change. What was put in there was that sentence was put in just to make it clearer, because we've been hearing and seeing camps going every year, and the coaches that don't participate in these summer camps, padded camps, what I'm referring to, that do not attend, ask, well, how can you allow me to go out in the summer and go in full pads from day one? That camp and practice 3 times a day, full pads, but yet when I come in the fall, you made me go to 2 days in helmets, 3 days in helmets and shoulder pads, so it's a week before I go in full pads, because you said I need to go to the acclimatization period. What's the difference between the two? It's probably as hot in June as it is in August. There's not a whole lot of difference. So that kept coming up, and it's like, well, this policy's in place that says that if a kid wears a helmet and shoulder pads, they can't be instructed or supervised by a school employee during the summer. So technically, folks that have been going to camps during the summer, team camps at UCF, and Stetson, and the FCA, by that policy that's been in place for years, people have been violating that policy. And been enforced, but that policy hasn't changed. And the only thing that was as part of that was just to clarify that what you've been doing in the past, even though you've been doing it for 20 years, doesn't make it right. What policy says you've been violating the policy if that's what you've been doing. We're going to vet it with our AD advisory committee and let them look at it a little bit, but this policy has not changed, but we've been getting phone calls and emails like, oh, you guys are changing policy. That's wrong. Policy hasn't changed. It's just what we, again, I'm a former coach, didn't look at that part about instruction, just looked at the part about just through a third-party organization. Because it's through a third-party organization, I felt like I could take my whole team on the school bus, pay for the school funds, and me there coach my team up against 3 other teams in a day. And, that's something that's on the table now to be considered. We're going to take a hard stance and start finding people for doing that, or what's the consequences going to be. I think just from talking to Justin, we're looking more to educate folks on what should be taking place and go from there. Any questions about policy 20? Because I know I'm saying
They design, operated, and conducted by a third-party entity.
FCA is third party.
Okay. FCA camps.
FCA is a third-party
FCA camps, right?
entity. Well, you can't do
That's
it.
just wasted.
I'd say it again. Can't do it.
FCA,
Can't do it.
for Stetson.
They are a third-party entity.
But
Can't do it.
the part that gets you, it says any activity sponsored or under the supervision of the school during the summer. If you're a school employee, when you're taking your whole coaching staff going there with the team,
Well, you're getting.
when it was originally put in place, it was for kids that was going to, say for example, linemen going to the University of Florida camp, individual camp. And they want linemen to bring pads and shoulder pads, helmets and shoulder pads so they can do contact drills. It was, before it wasn't pads were not included in it. That part was put in to allow those kids to go to college individual camp and wear pads, where it wasn't the whole team, it was just that kids in the band. And like I said, this rules, it's always been there, it's just, like I said, maybe rules in a position before it took us up here.
Wasn't interpreted.
Wasn't interpreted like that.
Well, I also think this too, I also think that some of our staff may, I mean, I can't speak for other people, but may not have known what all was going on at all these camps. And I guess the idea is, are these camps or is just a school taking their team to another field and getting a practice in it? You know what I'm saying? What? The idea was to, originally, that the idea was probably, we didn't know what all was going on. When he said, the comment was made that staff in the years past said what all was going on was okay. Now, from what, if I had to take a guess, and I don't know for sure, was the idea was maybe staff didn't know what was going on in these camps, and the point I made is it a camp, or is it a team taking, or a school taking a team to another facility to run a practice? You know, instead of doing it on site, because if it's conducted by the third party, that means the coaching at the camp is getting paid by the FCA, who's ever putting the camp on. Or is the coaching being done by the high school coach, as the high school coach? So that stuff we got to piece out, and it says, as Craig was mentioning, as the rule says, you know, the activity should not be underneath the supervision of the school. So you would look at, okay, who's paying for the kids to actually get to the camp? And I hate to put it in terms of this, but this is kind of how you think of it. If the school bus gets into a wreck on the way to the camp, who actually paid for like the bus to go there? And if the school did that, wouldn't then this event be underneath the supervision of the school? As opposed to sending one kid to the University of Florida camp, the school's not like sending the kid, the family is sending the individual kid to that camp. So that's where we're kind of getting to the wording. We have brought this up with the football advisory committee. They read it as our staff does, and that's current policy. So if we want to, and Craig and I did talk to Michelle prior, and we want to work with FCA and the other groups as well to keep having these camps, because we see the benefit of these camps. But we've also heard, and hearing's a bad thing because you don't know for sure, but you also hear that some of these camps is just a way to get kids to have a scrimmage and have a practice, as opposed to a camp where you're doing more instruction and you're having to teach the kids. You know, football has practice in the spring and in the fall to do the team stuff. Camp stuff should be a part. So again, that's what we're going to try to work through, but as Craig mentioned, this is the current policy. So underneath current policy, if any of this stuff is happening, it is against the current part of like the policy. And that's where Craig mentioned we want to make sure we're all on the same page, because it would not be fair, I'm sorry Craig, it would not be fair if somebody calls me or calls Craig or calls Frank at our office over football and says, hey, I want to do XYZ at this camp, and one of us says, well, no, that's against the rules because the school is having to fund this. It's underneath the, you know, the guise of the school. But then somebody else who does not call our office takes the kids there to that camp. You know what I'm saying? We just want everyone on the same page. And as it's written currently, based on how we hear some of these camps are done, and again, that's based on an assumption, and admittedly so, that's why we're trying to follow up with these people, is it would be against the current rule now.
Maybe we need to change the policy. I mean, that's why you got both red points. Maybe it's something that you bring forward to change the policy. Academic contract, that's also listed in policy and board bylaw, 9.4.1.5. Basically, I just put a chart up there. That's basically what it's going to be. It's going to tell you, if you got a ninth grader at the end of the first semester that has below 2.0, have them sign an academic contract at that point in time. The way the bylaw is written, the kid's supposed to sign, to be on the contract the day they immediately be coming on. I wait till they have a semester when they get a 2.0, you know, and get that semester, then okay, now at the end of the spring semester, the kid got a 2.0 for that semester, but still below a 2.0 overall, now I'm going to have to sign a contract so the kid can participate. The contract's supposed to be the first thing to sign before anything takes place. Once the contract's signed, the kid has to sit out a semester. So if we're a ninth grader, at the end of the first semester, you got below 2.0, have them sign a contract in there. Mike Colby that works in the office with us, he shared something with me that's probably useful, may take a little bit of time. If you got availability to run extra copies, run a list of every ninth grader that has below 2.0. And give them a copy of the contract, have them fill it out just in case they may want to play a sport. This could be a kid that may want to play baseball or play a spring sport. They have not participated in your fall sports. You don't even know this is an athlete. And at least if you do it that way, it's a way of catching all those kids. And there's not a situation where I'm trying to go back and post-date a contract, put an incorrect date on there, a falsified contract to make sure that I did it the way it's supposed to be done. The contract is supposed to be done at the time the kid becomes ineligible. And the other one is at the end of the 9th grade year, which is going to the 10th grade year, if a kid drops below 2.0, they sign a contract, they sit out that first semester, and could be able to play the second semester of the 10th grade year. And it's listed out in steps because people were getting, I mean, we had 80s that's been doing this for 25 years, were signing a contract, the first semester kids below 2.0, sign a contract, and they thought that was a free pass. If a kid has below 2.0, they can play spring of their freshman year without sitting out a semester. So we outlined it detail by detail just to make sure we're all on the same page and that it's being enforced consistently throughout the state. And here's just an example of academic contract. Recruiting. Talk about recruiting. Recruiting is urgent advice and oppression. This is the same slide from last year, didn't change anything on it. Nothing has changed about what recruiting is. Just because it's control of enrollment, kids can live in Pensacola and go to school in Jacksonville, they can provide their own transportation, and seats available, does not mean as a coach or anybody or a representative of school's athletic interest that I can entice, urge, or pressure a kid to come to my school for athletic purposes. That has not changed. And the next slide just goes to show you, talk about this, that went in place last year, the penalties for a coach, that the coach is able to be proved to have been a part of that recruiting. If you're a paid district employee, we can say it that way, then we can, those are the steps. $5,000 forfeiture of salary first year, second year, another $5,000 forfeiture of salary payments, and suspension without pay for 12 months for coaching. Third offense, $5,000. And now you go in front of professional practices to try to defend you keeping your teaching certification or your coaching endorsement. Those are real. Department of Education called me, wanted to know how we were going to notify them of someone on their third offense. Like, well, it's only been in place for a few months now, so we should not have anybody on the third offense. But I think as of today, there's probably about 12 coaches right now that are on their first offense throughout the state. And probably 9 of the 12 have been since January. It's probably been of those 12. 4 of the school districts just fired them and say, you know, we're done with you, let you go, and move forward. Share this with you. One of our counties, and this is going to pop up, Palm Beach County. This is a newspaper article, came out on Wednesday. We have a lot of issues with Palm Beach County this year. Probably just set up office. There's much of I've either contacted that office or been down there in Palm Beach County this year. Assistant coach at one school, Boynton Beach. Their coach coached the team for all season long. Another position came open in the county. He applied for the head coaching position. Was offered the job, had not completed all his paperwork. Was a substitute teacher, was still at Boynton Beach High School. And during that time, supposedly, Boynton Beach turned him in because he was calling kids down in school suspension, talking to them about going to the new school he was going to be coaching at, head coach at. So they turned him in, and I sent an allegation out to the principal of the new school he was at. The principal did an internal investigation. She decided to withdraw the job offer to the coach, so now the coach don't have that job yet. Well, in the meantime, he's got pissed about that. He's like, well, let me go and tell all the stuff that happened at Boynton Beach. And he, in this newspaper article, he didn't come to us, he went to this reporter. He has text messages, screenshots of text messages between assistant coaches back and forth, where they were contacting kids from all over the county on a daily basis. Like, we get this kid in, we need a running back, we need the head coach is included in some of this. So the moral of the story is, be careful if you turn somebody else in, if you're not sure, absolutely sure what's going on in your own house. Because the moment you turn on somebody else, you know, everything that's possibly could have gone wrong in your house can be revealed. And I share that because, again, I don't hear a whole lot from this area. It had a whole lot of issues up here in this area, which is great. I want to continue that way. But with control of enrollment, again, some parents, some kids, some students, which we had 3 issues this year, just in the past month, on students recruiting other students from other schools. And one issue down south, the coach got involved in a text message between the 2 kids, and basically told us, first he said, well, I feel this is a setup, you know, somebody's trying to set me up, and I'm not going to respond to this. But then he's like, I'm going to be a smart 8, and I'm going to say, well, that school, hey, how many Division I kids that kids in that school? They don't get any kids in this scholarship, this football. And we've gotten such and such, and boy, that kid will really look good with these other 2 kids on our offense. And all this is in text messages, so be careful with social media. And the school, the kid that was getting them receiving kept saying, no, I'm not coming, no, I'm not coming. I'm loyal to my school. My school's been good to me. My coach has been good to me. I don't care if we go 1-9. I'm gonna go 1-9 with these kids as opposed to going 14-0 or 13-1 or whatever with other kids. He went and gave it to his coach, his principal. So his principal sent about 8 pages of text to me. And you know, now this coach who sort of hit the right idea at first that if that was set up, you should have stopped in and it would have been fine. Told the kid, hey, stop communicating with this kid. You're part of the school's athletic interests. This could cause penalties coming against the school. You're trying to urge, entice, and pressure the kid to change schools. And didn't. So now he's got strike number 1 against him for recruiting. So it is very adamant. I think there was another one that was posted on Twitter. Where a coach had called the head coach from other schools and said, hey, tell your kids to leave my kids alone. Coach, leave my kids alone. Kept going back and forth, so he posted the actual screenshot of the text message from the kids, and that school got some sanctions against them too as well. The big thing to remember is that the $5,000 total salary, that's not a fine that's coming to our office, that stays within the district. That stays within the district salaries and so forth. Additional penalties that can take place. Public reprimand, $2,500 fine on top of the coach. We've had 1 school that we moved up the classification because it was sort of like just within a year we all get a ton of allegations on that same school. But at that time, we had to have clear and convincing evidence. And then when it changed to I wanted to preponderance of evidence, the school was actually caught with preponderance of evidence and did self-report. So we bumped them up the classification. We choose to take you out of the state series, or prohibit maybe out of state games. We only can play the only in-state games. So there are several things that could take place also, including the $5,000 withholding of salary. That's about it for me. If anybody got any questions about eligibility compliance, again, there's not a whole lot of stuff coming from the legislation right now. There is one bill that's out there that we think may possibly make it, which it changes non-member private school students that want to participate at a school. Before they were restricted to only being able to participate at their zone public school. Or the proposal, or the bill that's out being proposed right now would allow them to participate through the control of enrollment at whatever school they could attend through the control of enrollment process. That one's probably going to pass, and it'll pass the education committee, and I think it's being heard today, and probably right about this time now in Tallahassee. Any questions that I can answer? We'll turn it over to Justin. Thank you guys. And